Rich Paul wants AD out of Dallas. Can he actually make a trade happen? Reportedly wanting him gone by next week. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. The NBA's trade deadline is heating up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, I mean, pretty bold here, right? This is from Legion Hoops, aggregating this from ESPN. Rich Paul has made it clear to the Mavs that he wants Anthony Davis to be traded by next week. To me, number one takeaway is that obviously the Dallas Mavericks are not willing to pay Anthony Davis whatever the number is that he wants. They're not willing to give that to him because Anthony Davis is extension eligible this summer.
Yeah, for sure. With Rich Paul, he's going to try to exert whatever he can and try to make it a point to where he's going to get AD traded. And maybe he will, maybe he won't. But there was that report a few weeks ago that the Mavs are not going to be bullied basically into trading him if they don't find a deal that, fits what they want. And that's how things should be. But really quick, I wanted to mention that earlier today we had some stuff where we talked about a potential trade that's really close. So when you finish this video, make sure that you do check that video out as well.
Absolutely. Now we do have, you mentioned the bullying thing. I mean, who is it that would be bullying the Mavs? Well, it would be Rich Paul in this scenario. Now, I also want to note it's his job to get his client as much money as possible. And if the Mavs won't pay him, then it's his job to get him to a team that will. However, we now have multiple reports that the teams that have been interested in AD, the Raptors, the Hawks, teams like that, are no longer interested. Here's a report coming out of Toronto. This is from TSN, that mostly the Raptors' reported interest appears to be driven by Davis's representation, wish casting on the part of agent Rich Paul, who is said to be working tirelessly to force a trade and get his client to greener pastures. Davis is in line for a mega extension over the summer, one that could be worth up to $275 million, and one the Mavs don't seem to be willing to offer. So
why are they lying? He's not working tirelessly doing that. He's working tirelessly getting new episodes of his podcast out. The very next day, something happens to respond.
He is on the ball on that podcast. So he is on the phone telling Toronto, make an international call saying, hey, you want to come trade for AD? You guys want to come get him? And then sitting down and doing a podcast and talking about
saying
Gene
trade
Russ.
for him. Yeah, he's going to say talk about Gene Russ. He's talking about he's saying trade for AD or else I'll put you on blast on my podcast.
That's what he said. He's using. That's what it is. We've been trying to figure out why would an agent be on a. There's a reason why agents don't do podcasts. He is going to use the podcast as a cudgel to beat teams into submission here. That's what's happening. Oh my gosh.
In all seriousness, though, that's kind of crazy. We talked a lot about AD and the money he could potentially get, and the fact that, frankly, I don't think a single team should pay him that amount of money for that amount of years. Also, I just don't think that should be the case. But I do understand and respect Rich trying to get his client paid. That's 100%. It's mostly notable because he's Rich Paul. Right? He's very outspoken, very aggressive, all this stuff. We know who Rich Paul is and what his MO is. But that being said, it's very interesting that they are quote unquote wish casting and trying to speak a trade into existence here. And that may or may not happen for AD because I think that the injury really set him back for sure. And we kept saying he's going to need to be out there and play and be healthy. But since we started saying that, AD plays for a few games, get hurt, played for a couple games, got hurt again, played for a couple games. Now he's out just indefinitely. So he was not able to meet his end of the deal. So
no. And that's why I don't see anybody giving him that. And by the way, we got an update now from Jake Fisher in his report about Anthony Davis and the market, and it's dwindling, which brings us to where would he actually go? We're going to get to that in 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed, this is so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So Download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin. All right, so let's take a look. This is what Jake Fisher has on the Anthony Davis trade market. And again, this is a situation where Rich Paul may want Anthony Davis out of Dallas because obviously Dallas won't give him that deal. I don't think anybody should want to be the team to pay Anthony Davis upwards of $75 million when he's 37 years old. And that's what a full years extension would look like. But this is what Jake Fisher had. In recent days, both the Atlanta Hawks and Toronto Raptors, which goes along with what the report coming out of Toronto was, teams previously described as the most ardent Davis suitors have been signaling that they are no longer involved in significant trade talks with the Mavericks. Now, there have been some talk that right after AD's injury, that the trade market actually had picked up a little bit with him, because I think there were teams that thought, if we can get AD now, maybe we can get him just for expirings or something, and then we'll give him an extension that's not a max extension, and we'll wind up being a positive. We'll take AD while he's hurt. We'll let him recover. We'll bring him back, and then into the future we could have him. The Mavs, though, apparently want stuff, obviously, in return. They want positive value in return for AD. And by Rich Paul wanting Davis out of Dallas tells you that Davis doesn't want a contract that's just reasonable or something like that. He wants big money. Otherwise, Rich Paul wouldn't be trying to get him out of Dallas. If the Mavs told AD, we're going to give you the extension that you want, AD's staying in Dallas. I don't think he dislikes it there. This is a money situation.
We had a report not too long ago that he didn't want to be traded. It wasn't even that long. It was just a couple weeks ago. So I don't think he wants to get traded, but it's more about just the business side of things. And for the record, I understand why AD would want that and think he's worth that, because when he's playing, he is worth that amount of money, in my opinion. The problem is that he's not able to stay playing. And that is the best ability, like always said. So I think that for him, you may have a bit of a realization that that's just something that's maybe out of the cards for you from here, getting that super max salary going forward. Like, it's just not going to happen.
And if that's the expectation for him, it will prohibit a trade if the expectation is that. Because if you're another team, let's say I don't know, pick any team, the Hornets. The Hornets need a big. I'm the Hornets, and I'm going to have the conversation with Dallas about an AD trade. Whether it's through back channels or whatever, I'm going to talk with Dallas. I'm going to talk with AD, and I'm going to say, AD, what do you want on this next deal? And if AD says, oh, full max, full extension. Yeah. If I'm the Hornets, I'm going, I don't want that. What I want to hear from AD is, a 2-year deal, something like we'll do 2 years, $75 million, something like that, right? That's what I'd be open to doing. Then that would open things up on the trade, but teams would go, oh, okay, we'll take that risk, we'll take that gamble. Wanting more than that, and that's just a number I made up off the top of my head, they're purely a hypothetical, but wanting a full max or anything approaching a full max, I think it's going to be a no-go. Look, even Kevin Durant had to take less than a full max. Now, he is older than AD. He had an Achilles injury, obviously, but I can't say that AD is any less of an injury risk. I can't say there's any less of a risk that you're going to have AD and all of the millions and millions and millions of dollars he's getting paid sitting on your bench. And so I have a hard time imagining, Rich Paul wants him out of Dallas. Where is he trying to get him to? And is he just throwing teams out there to make it sound like there's interest in him so that other teams will try to jump into a bidding war of sorts that doesn't actually exist?
Yeah, that's definitely possible. That's what's happening there. Really quick, I said Supermax. That was just wordplay, but like, is he actually eligible for the Supermax, or is he at the 30% number?
He's already at the 35%, which is what a Supermax is. Okay. It's what the Supermax, what it allows you to do is jump a tier.
Yeah.
Because if you're a 30% max guy, if you're a 25% max guy, it lets you to bump up that next tier if you meet the criteria. So that's it. it's not like there's another tier above 35% that is considered the super max. It is getting up to that 35% max, which AD is already there based on his years of service.
Okay, perfect. Well, that all's well that ends well then.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is technically a super max. You just wouldn't call it a super because super max is getting bumped up to that next year. Anyway,
gotcha.
Ahead of time.
I'm not Keith. Shout out to Keith because he's great at what he does.
He is.
But yeah, that's absolutely, I think, the situation that they're in. They've got some decisions to make when it comes down to that. And Rich may just be throwing out names and trying to see if something will stick. And if you're trading for AD, I mean, at best, you're probably doing it for like a half the season rental or something like that, in which case Rich may not want that because I don't think he's going to get any long-term commitment from a team trading for him right now while he's injured. You know?
How long until Rich suggests he goes back to the Lakers? Just to get interest. You know, you throw the Lakers name out there, it's going to get interest.
You know, even the problem is that he would be super good on this Laker team. Super good.
He would. They can't get there financially. They can't make it work. Golden State, though, I think there's already been some rumors linking him to Golden State. The Knicks, that'll be one that gets thrown out there. What if we make it easy and we just swap AD for Cat?
That was one that we had seen a good bit during the summer as a possibility and then kind of moved away from that. That could be a thing too. But if I'm the Knicks, I'm probably looking for more consistency. Frankly, if I'm any team with aspirations, and no, I'm not talking about the Clippers, but if you have any sort of goals this season, you need just more consistency. And
AD might be good at planting trees. I don't know. Right then, right? If AD is hurt,
he's already got a home.
You could still get your money's worth out of him because he could be planting trees for you.
God damn it! Could you imagine him and Kawhi on the same team? Jesus, man. In terms of lack of availability, specifically,
yeah,
it'd be brutal. But yeah,
I'll tell you what, they would both play whenever they played the Lakers, though.
Yeah, they do the Herb Jones and miss 15 games around that game. It's 7 before, 7 after. Just don't play.
Exactly.
But yeah, with Rich, I don't. Do you think AD gets traded? Is that going to happen? Because it seems unlikely to me. Even though there's a demand request, all that stuff. Actually, speaking of demand, well, similar to what Mike Dunleavy said, there needs to actually be a demand for if you want to trade, right?
The Kuminga situation. Yeah.
Is there actually a demand for AD on this salary? Hurt expecting an extension? Like seriously.
I think there's a chance, but I think it's a slim chance. I think there was a much higher chance that AD got traded before the injury. Now, I can't get past. I buy Rich Paul wanting him to go somewhere else. I don't buy another team saying yes, we want Anthony Davis and we want to pay him the money that is causing him to want out of Dallas. Yeah, I can't see a team saying yes to both those things.
Like that's the thing that's the hardest part about this, because I think you can, if you're a team, you could talk yourself into trading for AD, availability concerns and all. You could talk yourself into it. But can you talk yourself into trading for him with the extension looming? That's the problem. Because even if he was just on this deal and it was expected to play out, maybe you could talk yourself into that. But with the extension looming and him clearly wanting to get another max salary, can you talk yourself into it for that? And then if you're Dallas, this is something we haven't talked about. Because you'd be clearly selling low. Do you want to do that? We've constantly said they probably don't want to do that and they shouldn't do that.
Yeah. You have to get back something if you're Dallas. And right or wrong, it's a sunk cost at this point, but you traded Luka for him. You can't turn around and trade him for just expiring contracts.
Yeah.
You got to get something for him.
Tough spot to be in. So
yep. I think the best path forward is going to be AD returns to Dallas next year, plays, and then maybe they revisit this next season. And Dallas probably does not do an extension. And then AD is looking at, okay, can I go someplace that will extend me during the season, or am I going to look to leave in free agency?
Tell Rich it's just, don't pack any bags.
Don't pack any bags. Get settled in.
It may take a while, man.
All right, everybody. Give us your thoughts. Where will Anthony Davis ultimately wind up? Is he going to be traded at all? Rich Paul seems to want him traded, but again, there's reasons for that. Till next time, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe. See ya, and stay safe.